Hello guys, welcome back to our video on introduction to TypeScript course for beginners. So in this course, we're going to go over, we have moved now to the advanced stuff. We're looking at object-oriented programming in TypeScript. So in this course, we're going to go over getters and setters. Okay, so in the last tutorial, we talk about classes, we talk about the different access modifiers, we talk about the private and the public. So in the last video, I changed this one to become private, right? I made this one to be private, just like this one. And we're getting an error right here because we can access a private attribute outside of the class. Okay, so now how do we make sure we can write a function that can give us access to it? So this is also called the concept of uh basically encapsulation, where basically we're binding a method to a given data. So the only way to access the data is through the use of a method, the concept of encapsulation through getters and setters. So now let's go ahead and and have a getter. So a getter simply allows us to get access to a data. So let's say I want to get the age of the person. So a getter can allow us to have access to it. So I can just go here and say get and say get age. Okay, so this is basically how you say how you define a getter. So you say get keyword and then the name of the function, and then basically getters do not take in any attribute, but they return, and they have a return type. So I'm going to go ahead and return number, and let's go ahead and return that number down here. So you say return, and you're going to return age. You can say this dot age. So that's also work. So we're going to return the age. Also, I get this go ahead and save the code right there. So basically that's it. So that's what the getter is. So if I go ahead instead of 8, I can say get age, right? So if I write get 8, now you can see the error is gone. And if I go ahead and check in the terminal, sorry, in the browser, you can see now we have 30 being returned. So that's basically how you can get an 8. That's basically what a getter is. Okay, so that's how you can have a getter. One thing you have to keep in mind, getters, you said the keyword and then the name of the function, the getter function, and then finally the return type, because getters always return a value. So make sure you always have a return type for it. And also one thing you have to know is that you must this is a method, but you cannot like call it like this. You just have to say dot. It's like an attribute or property of this object. Okay, so let's also write another function, another getter to return to us the username. So you can also make the username private. So you can say private. Okay, so I can get now, if I go and let's say username, username, so I can have access to the username outside here, but now I can define a getter to get me the access to the username. So I can say user, let's say get user name, username, and this is going to be a function. It's going to return to us a string type, so string, and I'm going to go ahead and say return this dot user name, just like that, and save the code. So once I have this, I can go ahead and say get user name, just like that. And if I run the code again, you can see I'm getting back prints, and we don't have any error in our TypeScript. So that works perfectly. So good. So that's basically how we can also have a getter. Now this is how getters work. Now let's talk about setter. So how does setter work? So just say set, use a set, and you can say set age. So setter basically, since we cannot access, okay, let me change this back to be change it back to be public. I can change it to be public, and I can go here and say user name, and that works perfectly, right? So let me just comment this out for now. So I can access the username perfect. Now I can also modify the username. So I can go up here and say prince dot username, sorry, dot username, and the username is going to be called, say, uh updated name, just like that. And if I go here, you can see now I'm going to get updated name. So that's, we can update, I can update this name outside of the class. What if you don't want that to happen? Now you don't want anyone to be able to access, change the name outside of the class. So one thing you can simply do is make this one private. So private. Good. So once you make it private, but you still want to give users ability to update their username or create an application. But now you want to create a function that you control yourself, right? So we're going to take a function that's going to take in the new username. So you say new username, and it's going to be of type string, and it's going to go ahead and have no return type because you're not going to be returning anything. You're going to simply set the username. So you say this dot username is equals to new username, just like that. So good. So that's basically how we can set this name. Now we have control of how a user can set the name. So you can check things like, does the name currently exist in a database? If it does not exist in a database, then you can do some complex logic and stuff like that. So that's all goes in here. So that's one of the advantages of having a getter and a setter. So you can control how users can do stuff. Okay. So let me go ahead and say that's basically it for the username. So I can go in and say set, sorry, not here. I can just go ahead and say get username, which you get as a username. So now I'm going to go ahead and say prince dot set username. Sorry, set this will be set age. I sorry, my bad, is going to be set user name, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and say set user name and pass in my name. So the username is going to be equals to, and I can pass in a value right here. So it's going to be expecting a string value. So I'm going to say string and pass in, let's say, updated name, just like that. So now if I access the name, it should return to me updated name. So that's basically how you can use getters and setters and making things using the access modifiers to control access to the information. So instead of this function, you can control, do different checks before changing the username actually. Okay, so also let's have another function right here, another set. Let's call it set age. And set age, what you're going to go ahead and you're going to take in the new age, and the new age is going to be of type number. And in here, what you're going to go at, this is not going to return anything because setters just set values, they don't have any return type, so you don't have to specify a return type. So I'm going to say, I'm going to actually just say this dot age equals to new age, just like that. Okay, so save this. So I can go down here and simply set a new age. So I can say prince dot set age, and then I can set the age to be another age. Let's say I have turned 31. So really I'm not 30 years old, but yeah, let's say I have turned 31 theoretically. So once I have that done, if I go ahead, okay, we're still getting the username. So I want to get the age. So get age and then press enter there. So again, the age now I'm getting 31. So good. So now what if you want to do some logic before changing the username, right? And that's the whole point of having control over your data through getters and setters, right? So let's say I want to check if the if my age is less than my current age, I shouldn't change it. Let's say that you cannot you cannot and what do you call it? Like going back in time, like you cannot unage yourself, right? Something like that. So you can say if new age is less than this dot age, right? And you can perform some parameters, some things here. You can go ahead and simply say throw new error. You can going to raise an exception, and you're going to go ahead and raise an exception. You're going to say uh, you can not reverse aging, right? So you cannot reverse aging. So that's something like that. And then like if that's not the case, I'm going to say I'm going to have an else, and I'm going to say this dot age equals to new age, just like that. So good. So in case you are less than the current age, that's not possible. You cannot reverse aging, so it's not allowed. So you don't allow reverse aging. So if I go down here and specify that I'm 29 right now, I'm trying to underage, then it's going to go ahead and return for me an error. So you cannot reverse aging, right? So true. So if I go ahead and say now I'm 31, it's going to go ahead and allow that because 31 is greater than the current age, right? So we cannot reverse aging. You can do that, okay, as of now, okay. Maybe in the future, guys, will come up with some technology that you can reverse aging, but for now you cannot reverse aging. So that's basically is it. So one thing I want you to notice is that getters and setters in TypeScript are not methods that can be called. Instead, they are properties that can be accessed. You see, you're not calling them, you're just accessing them, right? You're not calling them like this. No, you're just calling accessing them. So getters, setters in TypeScript do not have a return type, not even void and undefined or never. They do not have any return type, and you can see that right here. They do not have any return type whatsoever. So that's basically about getters and setters. So in the next video, that's all I want to talk to you guys about in this video. So in the next video, we'll go over the concept of inheritance in TypeScript. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. If you guys enjoyed this so far, make sure to like the video, you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you share this video with all your friends who are learning TypeScript. Okay, so one of the easier we can also support the channel is just by liking the video and dropping a comment and sharing the video. So guys, thanks for watching so much. See you in the next one and keep safe.